Hello everyone, this is Dorcas Chandler at dorcasgazelle.com. I'm hoping that you all are having a wonderful day and everything is going well in your life. And if it isn't, don't be discouraged. I am just excited about the things that are happening in my life and excited about what's going on in your life also. You know, I'm still on my journey. I know I'm not out on YouTube as much as I was before, but I am still working it out. And when I say working it out, you just have to go day by day. You know, I had slowed down on my exercising, and I realized that, you know, I needed to get back doing the way that I used to do. I was told to let my body rest, and when I started letting my body rest, it did just that. It didn't want to do exercise. So I was like, no, Dorcas, you cannot forget where you came from and the affirmation that you made when you first started in 2015, that my eating is connected to my exercising. And it really is. And even though I was eating right, and but I was missing that component of exercising. And I'm grateful because exercising does something for my mind. It keeps me focused, it keeps me centered, and I am really excited about that. And I'm continuing on this journey because I realize that it is powerful and it is helping me in so many good ways. And I'm just grateful to God for all that He's done and all the people that He's put in my life to help me get where I am. Because I realize that you can't make it by yourself. That's for Dorcas. But anyway, today I want to talk about the power of touch, or the power of touching someone else. And you know, Sunday, I was scheduled to speak at our church, and I got up and I was getting dressed, and I knew what I was going to wear the night before, so I thought. But when I came in my office, that's where I keep my clothes, in that closet, to get my the clothes that I had in mind to put on, because I'm going to be sitting in front of people. I have to sit down to speak whenever I speak publicly. And so I knew what I was going to wear. But when I got up and started getting dressed and everything, and the stuff that I was putting on, it was sagging too much in the front. And oh my goodness, you could just see just my breasts. And I was just so disappointed. So I just started pulling out different things, going in my room, trying them on. And nothing was working. I became so frustrated. You should have seen my room when I left, because I was trying on this. I would come back in here, get something else, and I was just trying on these things. And then I couldn't find anything. So I was sitting there wondering, what am I going to do? And then the first thought was, don't speak this morning, because you don't have nothing presentable to be sitting in front of people in a church setting. And so I was like, whoa. And so I came in here and I did find one top, and I put that top on, and I wasn't satisfied with it, but I put it on because it was covering me. And so I went on and I got dressed, and after I got dressed, then it was time to do my hair. And I was thinking that I'm going to let my hair just go gray. I don't like gray. Ever since I was 17 years old, I've been gray, and I've dyed my hair ever since. And so I really don't like this gray thing that I'm trying to do. So anyway, I'm sitting in front of the mirror and I'm combing my hair that I have left, because my hair has really came out. And I thought by now that it would be growing because I'm able to take care of it and wash it and condition it like I used to. But it's really just taking its time. I went to the beauty shop and had my hair cut off, so I'm thinking that it's going to grow back, but it's not growing like I would like for it to. So I'm sitting at the mirror and I'm doing my hair, and I'm talking about the power of touch. And all of a sudden, tears just start rolling down my face because I was like, oh my goodness, what am I going to do? And look at my hair. Look at what I got on. You know, so I was going through those changes. And then all of a sudden, I just heard this song. And it goes like this. It won't always be like this. It won't always be like this. Oh, sooner or later, it's gonna turn in your favor. Boom. God's gonna turn it around. And I heard that in my ear. And so I got okay. And I said, you know what? I'm going because God is gonna turn it around for me. And so I went on and I got there and I took my mind off of myself and the way I look, and I said, God, don't let nobody come up and say nothing to me about the way I look. And then I said, well, if they do, they just do. And so anyway, when I got up to, before I left the house, I need to back up a little bit. I went in my room and I finished getting dressed, and I just was reminded in my spirit that, Dorcas, when you go speak publicly, there's something that you need to always remember. You don't know what it takes for people to get from point A to point B. Whether it's going to church or going in a meeting room or just wherever life takes us, we don't know what it takes for people to get to the next point. Like, I was frustrated with the way that I look. People have problems and situations, and they press over what they're really feeling on the inside because they feel like that's the thing to do. Always be cognizant. That was what came to me of your audience. I don't care who your audience is. Doesn't have to be church people. Always be cognizant of the people that's sitting in front of you. And when I got there, I had my notes and everything that I was going to speak about. But because that happened to me, and I'm looking at my audience, it's my turn to speak. And that song came to me. And so what I did was I just asked everybody to just stand up and go hug somebody. And as they got up and went to hug somebody, I was singing the song. It won't always be like this. Sooner or later, it's gonna turn in your favor. God's gonna turn it around. And I'm telling you, as I'm looking at the audience, people are hugging and they're crying. People are laughing. The children are getting up. They're going to other people. And I was telling them, okay, you know, it was just so awesome to see the power of the touch. You know, sometimes some of us don't get touched. I mean, we could either live alone. You don't have to live alone. You could be living in the house with your husband, with your wife, with your kids. But there's something about the power of a touch. And what I thought about was, you know, we are so media, we're in a frenzy because we text, we go on Facebook, we go on Twitter, we go on Instagram, we go on Snapchat. We have all these things that this generation is presenting to us, But let's not forget the power of the touch. See, when you're on Facebook and all those other media programs that I just mentioned, you can't really physically touch a person. And we have to be careful that, all the, the text and then email and that we make sure that we connect with each other physically. And I believe that that's something that God wants us to do because we're a disconnected generation. And what's disconnecting us is all these other mediums that we have to communicate. It's like I'm communicating right now. This will go out on Facebook and people will email, and some of them I know and some of them I don't know, but physically I don't get to touch them. And I'm reminded, and I've told this story before, and it's in my book, about when Leslie had her baby, and she was sick, and she was in the hospital, and Leslie was tired, and I told Leslie I would go, but Leslie was breastfeeding, and so she pumped her milk in a bottle, and I went over there, and I picked up this ice chest thing, and I took it to the hospital, to Kaiser. And when I got off the elevator, I could hear this baby just screaming to the top of her lungs. I had no idea it was Grace, Leslie's baby. So what happened was I went to the desk and I told them who I was, and they took the milk from me and they told me, come on. They showed me where to go. And there was this baby screaming and yelling to the top of her voice. And I was like, oh no, what am I going to do with this situation? But what happened was, I was petting her, she's in the crib and she just screaming like crazy. And so then I asked the nurse, I said, well, you think I could hold her? And she said, yeah, sit down. And she had all these tubes and stuff, and she had this thing in the top of her head, and you could just see her head just pulsating because she was screaming so much. And so when I took Grace in my arm, the nurse gave her to me. I was like, oh, stop crying. Oh, it's going to be okay. I'm rocking and holding her and rubbing her and trying to get her to be quiet. But the more I talked, the more she screamed. And I was like, oh my goodness, what am I going to do? And then I looked around and she was in the room with a couple other babies. And those babies were sound asleep. Not Grace. She was screaming like I don't know what. So then, I'm saying, come on now. It's going to be okay. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. She was doing, and she could care less. When I start singing to her, she said, and I said, oh my goodness. So I just started making up stuff. I was singing anything. I mean, if I would say A, G, E, I was just singing to Grace. As long as I sang to her, she wouldn't cry. And I was like, oh, okay, so now I can stop. Soon as I stopped, she'd start screaming again at the top of her lungs. And I was like, good grief. Mary had a little lamb. Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeers. It wasn't even Christmas time. This was in September. And I didn't have no more to sing. And so I'm just like, G-H-P. I'm just making up stuff. And as long as I sang, she would not cry. And then when the nurse came in and said, it's time for her to eat, and I said, okay. So we took Grace and we put her back in the crib and she started screaming again. So the lady's getting stuff ready. We changed Grace. And then, can I hold her again? And she gave it to me again. And I had the bottle, and I'm thinking that the bottle's going to be enough. That was not enough. So I was feeding her with the bottle and singing at the same time. Singing about milk, singing about the bottle, singing about anything I could think of to sing about, because that's the only way that would keep her quiet. But a doctor came in, and he walked by the room and he said, I know you're not the grandmother and I know you're not the mother, because I've seen the grandmother and the mother in here. He said, but this is what I want to tell you. This baby is going to go home because you are touching her. And he said, if these babies would get touched by someone, they could go home. And he said, and I just want to shake your hand. And I'm like, oh, Lord Jesus, okay. And so I'm stopping talking to him, and she's screaming again. I shook his hand. I'm like, yeah, okay, thank you. And then I had to start back singing, because a baby's cry can just, woo. And I know if you have any kids, you can understand that. But anyway, the power of the touch. And this is what has been so inspiring in my weight loss journey, is all the people that God has physically allowed me to touch. And that is so important. Like the lady when we were up in Flagstaff, and God allowed me to, I said, come here, can I have a hug? She was having surgery that next morning, and I grabbed her, and she just grabbed me, and I put my face up against her face, and I told her, you're going to be all right. And she's like, thank you, Dorcas, thank you. And I learned that on my journey, how important we are to each other. We need each other. You could be a perfect stranger. And I'm not talking about nothing weird and nothing freaky. I'm talking about just being genuine from your heart, making sure that we don't just look at people because they look like they're okay and they're not okay, and just a kind word. It doesn't have to be nothing deep, you could just say, how you doing? And I've learned that even here in my apartment, I mean, I've talked to people, and someone wanted to come in, and they were telling me, about a drug situation. And I mean, I talk to people, and people are really in need of someone to listen to them. I'm not saying, and like I said before, that the internet and all this stuff, but I'm telling you, we cannot let that take the place of our family time, take the place of our friendship time. I mean, you could go in the store and just say a kind word to somebody, and we don't know what that will mean to them. And I don't really know what happened on Sunday, but I know that I did what I felt in my spirit, and I know what had happened to me before I left, and I had told them that that was what had happened to me. And I'm telling you, the kids were coming up, and they were just hugging me, and I was hugging them back. So it's just important that we don't forget who we are, and who we are humans, not robots. Who we are humans, people made to touch, to love, to share with each other. Not so much always, text me. I tell people all the time, don't text me. They text anyway. But the reason why I don't like texting, because I think it's so impersonal. You could text me something, but just to talk to me on a text, nah, I don't like it. That's why I don't bring my telephone from room to room in my house. I have a telephone in my office. I have a telephone in my living room. I'll pick it up, but I don't like the way that we have become so disconnected. And we can't let the things that we do cause us to be more disconnected and don't realize the power of the touch. And I am so excited because a lot of you have touched me in a real deep way. And that is by taking my book. And I'm telling you, it has blessed me. And just to know that there are people out there that genuinely, I'm learning that, Dorcas, people really love you. I mean, they really love me. In spite of Dorcas, they love me. And I'm just so grateful. The one thing about the 91-year-old mother that used to go to our church in Inglewood, and gave her book, and so she was on the get about, or whatever you call it, transportation to go to the doctor, and she said, I need to take something because I always have to wait on the bus. And so she was sitting there waiting, and she had my book, and she began to read it, and she opened it, and then she said she had to close it back. She said because the book was too much her. I said, this lady came over to sit by her and said, can I sit by you? And so she said, yeah. So Mother Neal started telling her about the book that she was reading. And she said, the lady said, I want that book. And so they're older. Mother Neil's up 93, 94, some like that. And they were looking through the book. And they were looking to see, where can we order the book? What you see, I got emails on there, and I got websites on there. But what I failed to do was to remember there is a generation that don't know how to use computers. So they were looking for an address. The address is on the website, but there is not an address in the book. So I thought about that. How that sometimes we overlook those that have played such a vital role in America. And that's the older generation. And I'm older myself, but I know how to use a computer. But everybody does not know how to use a computer. So why am I telling you that? Everybody is not even getting touched by Facebook, YouTube, Snapchat, Instagram, and all those other things. There is a generation out there that don't even know how to use a computer. Let's not look over them. Sunday after service, me and Lori was getting something to eat, and out of this car next to us was this two old ladies. I mean, really old. And one of them was reaching in the back of her car to get this walker for this other lady. And my heart went out because I know what that feels like. And so I wanted to just hug them, but we were pulling off. And what am I saying? Don't forget the generations that are way up before us. We got people in rest homes that would just love for somebody to come and touch them. There is so much community work that we can do. And that's why I am excited about getting back up. Because they could tell you every hospital I think I know of in California I've been in. They would call me, I would go. I believe that we have to touch people's lives. And I've had busy schedules. But if someone was sick, or someone needed their house cleaned, or someone needed to get to the doctor, or someone didn't have money for food, I mean, that has been my life. And I am grateful to God that He put the kind of heart that He put in me to always want to be a blessing to somebody else. We make some money, and we need to give some money, and we need to not just keep everything for me and my family and what I'm going through. We need to try to be a blessing to other people. And because I did that in my young life, people have been a blessing to me. You know, the books cost $15, right? I get a check in the mail for one book for $100. You don't understand what I'm saying. Somebody walking through the house and they send me $300. I'm telling you, somebody $500. And it's because people think I got a lot of money, but God has given me favor. And I ain't asking nobody for nothing. You can ask them. They're just like, Dorcas, you're on my mind. Dorcas, people got my book and they just send money. So now I'm in the process of getting me my mattress, and I'm excited about that. And so I'm not putting it on no credit card. I'm going to pay it off. And then next thing I know, I need to get some clothes. Oh, Lord, I need to get some clothes. And I need to get a car. I'm excited. Whatever way God turns my life, that's what I want to do. But the most thing I want to continue to do as Dorcas Chandler is to touch people's lives. It is so important. Hey, I hope that helped you. This is part of my journey. This is things that I'm learning as I go. And I'm grateful to the parents that I had, because they would get out of their bed and give it to somebody else. And my dad, when he retired, and I say this all the time, him and my mom, he would plant this garden, and they would always plant more than what they needed, and it was always given to the community. Find something to give to somebody else besides ourselves. I love you. This is Dorcas Chandler at dorcasgazelle.com, and we're going to be changing the website because I'm at another level now. And so what has happened in the past has happened in the past, and I'm getting ready to do something totally different with Dorcas Gazelle. And I think it will be a blessing to you. In fact, I know it will. But this book has solidified my journey, that everything that I went through, the loss of my parents, the loss of my school, and just stuff that have happened to me, that's now in the past. I am moving on to another elevation, because I know that there's greatness and things that God is going to do through my life in my lifetime. And I'm excited. And you're a part of that, because you've loved me through my pain. I love you. You be blessed. This is Dorcas Chandler at dorcasgazelle.com. And remember, it won't always be like this. Sooner or later, just remember that. It's going to turn in your favor. God's going to turn it around. It won't always be like this. It won't always be like this. Oh, sooner or later, it's gonna turn in your favor. God's gonna turn it around. Bye-bye.